Hello and welcome to the programme. Our top story: well, British MPs have rejected 8 Brexit alternatives that some lawmakers believed could set a new course for the UK's withdrawal from the EU. The result came at the tail of a tumultuous evening in Westminster, which saw Theresa May offer to resign as Prime Minister if MPs helped to get her twice rejected agreement through Parliament. Now, MPs voted on a wide variety of options, including a call for a no-deal Brexit on April the 12th, a public vote to be held on any Brexit deal that passes through Parliament, and several options that outlined alternative customs arrangements with the European Union. Well, cross-party MPs had hoped that these indicative votes would provide some consensus for a Brexit strategy outside of Theresa May's Brexit deal. Well, our correspondent Vincent McAviney is following tonight's results and he joins us live from Westminster. Well, good evening to you, Vinny. As we said, a tumultuous evening at Westminster, but we don't seem to be much clearer as to the path ahead.
It is absolute deadlock here, Isabel, because we've been saying in the build-up to this vote we would finally get to hear what it is Parliament wants. We knew what they didn't want. They had ruled out a no-deal Brexit, but we thought we would get some indication of what they wanted. And all 8 of these proposals were voted down tonight. Now, to varying degrees, if we look into the results, some things that we expected did get quite a bit of support. So the second referendum, 268 votes to 295, so that lost by 27. The surprising one, the customs union proposal, so a very soft Brexit, that lost 264 to 272, so just 8 in that one. Revoke Article 450 actually had a surprising amount, so after we saw 1 million people marching in London for that and around 6 million signing the e-petition for this, 184 MPs voted for that and 293 voted against. So at the moment, we are no clearer in knowing what it is MPs want. What this does bring clearer, I think, is that we possibly need to have some kind of people's vote on this, either by a second referendum or many people tonight saying this means we are heading towards another general election if MPs are this deadlocked, because we thought we were going to get some more indicative votes on Monday after they'd narrowed down the options. That's still set to happen. But on this basis, it looks like MPs really are not sure. Now, some may have abstained on these votes because they thought that they were going to get a third meaningful vote on the Prime Minister's withdrawal agreement, and that they would just do that either tomorrow or Friday after the Prime Minister's statement this afternoon. And then on the numbers at the moment, it doesn't look like that would get through. So maybe Monday's votes would take on more precedence and people would have more opinions on it. But at the moment, no one knows what is going to happen.
And Vinny, in the midst of this, of course, Theresa May offering to resign if her withdrawal deal isn't passed. Now, we've been talking about this throughout the evening. It does really look like the odds are stacked against her, doesn't it?
Massively. I mean, the first thing is the practicality of doing it. The Speaker, John Bercow, last week blocked meaningful vote 3. The Prime Minister thought she could have done it last week ahead of that EU Council. He said you can't, because parliamentary protocol dating back to 1604 says you can't repeatedly ask the same question of Parliament and waste Parliament's time. He said there had to be substantial changes. That was a fairly opaque wording. People in Downing Street have been trying to figure out what exactly would be substantial. Now, the Prime Minister tonight still seems to think that she can bring it back for a third meaningful vote. And there are some technical ways that she can do this, but it would take a little bit more time. So we wouldn't be able to do it this week, we think. And this week was the week it needed to happen in order to get that timetabling to May 22nd that the EU had set forth. But even if she did manage to have the vote, she doesn't have the numbers once again. So back in January, she lost by 240. A couple of weeks ago, she lost by 149. She has had slowly some hard Brexiteers like David Davis come on board. And then tonight as well, once she gave the statement that she would go, it was basically a slight variation of an old saying. It was back me and then sack me. That got on board the likes of Jacob Rees-Mogg and Boris Johnson because it opened up the path to him getting into number 10 Downing Street. So, of course, he immediately ditched his principles and objections on her withdrawal agreement and backed it. But there is now a new group called the Spartans, hard Brexiteers who say they will still not vote for it. The likes of John Redwood, Priti Patel, Andrea Jenkin and the DUP, of course, saying tonight they will vote against it. So the Prime Minister does not seem to have a majority to get through even the offer of resignation, not bringing on board the Brexiteers. You've got Remainers in her party, the likes of Justine Greening, Sam Gyimah, Dominic Grieve, people who've given up their government careers in order to object to the Prime Minister's Brexit plans. They won't vote it through either. You're not going to get any more Labour MPs, I'd say, coming on board because at the moment it just doesn't look like there is enough to get it over the line. So the Prime Minister tonight will really be scratching her head and wondering what it is she's to do, because the timetable that she set out for resigning was only if MPs passed her withdrawal agreement through this third meaningful vote, and she didn't actually want to resign. We know that about this Prime Minister, so this is a way that she can go on, but doing what? It's not clear.
Yeah, it's all rather ironic, isn't it, there, Vinny? Well, thanks so much for us, Vincent McAviney, for us in Westminster.